Before I forget, I want to mention that this telescope was provided to me as a loan from Agena Astro for the purposes of this introductory review and maybe a sort of a long-term review later on. No money was exchanged, and they don't really have control over what I'm going to say in this video or how I present the telescope. So just want to say thank you to Agena for sending this out to me, and let's go on with the rest of the review. Hey everyone, it's been a long time since I actually did anything with the channel, and hopefully I can, moving forward, I can be more consistent with my uploads. But as you can probably tell, the weather has been really difficult for me. So, but I think we're done with the rain for now. So, with this little bit of a weather break, I want to start making videos again. And here it is with a brand new introduction of a telescope that is new to the market. And hopefully you guys will find this useful and maybe even consider getting something like this, because I personally think that this telescope, depending on who you are, this could be your one and only telescope if you are that right kind of astrophotographer. So with that being said, let's get right into the introduction of the Founder Optics FOT106. Well, so what is this Founder Optics FOT106? It is a triplet apochromatic refractor, and unlike most telescopes on the market, this is a little bit different because it actually uses two ED glasses instead of the conventional single ED glass that you find in a lot of the doublets and the triplets when it comes to these refractors. And on top of that, the glass element in this refractor is actually separated into three individual glass elements. Again, very different than the typical refractor that you see on the market, because a lot of times, even pretty much all of my William optics, the doublets and the triplets, they're actually, either two glasses or three glasses sort of like stacked together into one sort of giant thick glass. But this is different. This is actually three airspace glass elements. I figure, probably the best way to introduce a brand new telescope on the market is actually maybe, explore into the company responsible for introducing this telescope. And so I did a little bit of research on my own about Founder Optics, and I hope you don't mind me sort of looking down at the laptop as I'm doing this video, because I've got some notes here that I like to just sort of read out to you guys and just make you guys more aware of what Founder Optics is. Founder Optics is actually not new to the field of optics. They've been making spotting scope and rifle scopes for a while, so they're not new to optics. However, they are new to the field of astronomy, and this is sort of their first offering. They are starting out with what you see here, which is the FOT106 triplet apochromatic. They also have the FOT86 triplet apochromatic, which is obviously 86 millimeter in the objective lens. And so, but I figured that's not enough information to sort of get to know a brand new company in the field of astronomy. So I actually reached out to social media to sort of field additional questions that they'd like to know about Founder Optics. And I've had my own sort of questions for them as well, and they were nice enough to established communication with me, and we've had some back and forth about, my questions along with questions from you guys regarding, Founder Optics. By the way, if you're hearing noises in the background, that's just my kittens wrecking the place. So I'm sorry, I can't really stop that at the moment. And I'm already talking, so I'm just gonna keep recording myself. So I'm basically going to spend the next few moments to talk about what they responded with in regards to my email to them and some of the questions I have for them as a company. And I'm gonna go over their responses, and I'm gonna skip out, what I thought was just, marketing BS. So hopefully you guys will like that sort of communication and that sort of content, because I think it's really cool that companies are willing to sort of listen and address some of the questions and concerns that their customers may have. So this is really cool. Okay, so I'm going to start with the questions that I personally have for Founder Optics, and here we go. So I asked them, because they started with, just making spotting scopes and rifle scopes. So what made them venture into astronomy? And their answer was that, they're actually based in Taiwan, but they have a relationship with a well-known Japanese optical engineers. I don't know what that quote-unquote Japanese optical engineer is. I have some guesses, but they're just guesses, so I'm not gonna comment too much on that. And so they figured that, because they have a connection with these Japanese optical engineers, that it would make more sense for them to actually venture into the field of astronomy. And so they decided that they're gonna go with the O'Hara FPL53 and FPL51. So that's 2 ED glasses in this one particular FOT106. I believe it's the same for the FOT86. It's just a small telescope. And so, all of their testings, all of their engineering, they're done within Japan using Japanese methods. Again, I don't really know what that means, but they quote that they use Japanese methods, so cool. However, these scopes are still made in Taiwan. So they're essentially designed and engineered in Japan, but manufactured in Taiwan. So then this next question had more to do with actual telescope itself, not so much the company. But I thought it was cool that they explained to me a little bit background about the company and why they decided to go into the field of astronomy. So I asked them, what is the benefit of using an aerospace design for the 3 glass element versus sort of the conventional sort of stacked together triplet design, right? So their answer was basically when you airspace it out, basically have the glass elements separated, you get better chromatic aberration correction. So I thought that was cool. And my other questions were, sort of like their future within the world of astronomy. So I asked them, obviously, you guys know that I'm a fan of Petzval design because I don't like dealing with field flattener. So I asked them, hey, will you guys design any Petzval refractor in the future? And I also asked them that, because they started with releasing triplet apochromatic refractor, are they going to introduce doublets as well? Because, hey, not everybody can afford triplets. And also not everybody can run triplet because they're technically, most triplet refractors are heavier than doublets. And when you have a heavier telescope, you need a beefier mount. So I asked them, are they going to introduce Petzval and are they going to introduce doublets? And they said in the future, yes, they are going to release more triplet, doublet, and Petzval or quadruplets. And then my last question that I had for them was more about, are they going to expand the current line, because at the moment it's only the FOT 86 millimeter and the FOT 106 millimeter. So are they going to release smaller and larger telescopes? And they will be releasing smaller and larger telescopes. So expect that Founder Optics to sort of stay in the market. And from what it sounds like, they're going to introduce more and more telescope. So that's really good news. Okay, so these next questions are actually coming from the community, and I picked a few ones that I thought was appropriate, and I thought it would help sort of allow people to get to know more about Founder Optics, because once again, like I said, that they're essentially brand new to the field of astronomy. So some of these questions were from the from you guys actually. So someone asked, are they going to produce telescope outside of the refractor form factors such as SCT, RC telescope? I think that's a Ritchie Krajicek. I'm not too familiar with those, so I'm sorry. I really only know refractors, so I'm still learning about those different form factors. So hopefully later on in the channel I can talk more about those. But somebody from the community wanted to know, are they going to make SCT reflectors and RC telescopes? And Founder Optics, what they responded with was, at the moment, they're primarily focused on just making refractors. Really, because I think they're already making rifle scopes and spotting scopes, so they're more familiar with glass-based optics, not so much with mirror-based optics. So that makes sense. The next question, also coming from the community, is, do they have plans for faster optics? Maybe something as fast as f2 or f2.8? Yes, they are looking into that. So in the future, they're going to launch products with, quote unquote, different specification. So I'm going to talk about the specs of the telescope, but at the moment, this is an f6 native telescope. So they said that they're going to make more, different kinds of telescope in the future. So that's good to know. Okay, and this last question from the community sort of reflects on what I mentioned earlier about, the nature of triplets, because at the moment, this is all they have. They only have triplet apochromatic refractors, and, not everyone can afford them. It's nice to have them, but not everyone can afford them. And so this next question comes from the community, one of you guys, and the question is, do they plan to offer any entry-level products, telescopes? And I'm going to summarize their answer here. It sounds like that they're not going to, they're not going to offer, quote unquote, entry-level refractors. It sounds, because what they're telling me is that they really want to focus on quality, and they really want to make sure that, through their quality, it will make sense for people to consider Founder Optics. So it sounds like entry-level doublets, entry-level refractor with maybe not the latest and the greatest class. That doesn't look like they're focused on that. It looks like they're solely focused on just making really quality, top-notch refractors. So there you go. Hopefully you guys like that. I wasn't able to submit all the questions I have from both myself and the community, but I hope that this was enough to sort of give you a sense of Founder Optics, what they're about, and how they plan to sort of proceed into the field of astronomy. Okay, so now that I've talked about a little bit about the company behind this brand new telescope, Founder Optics, I want to talk more about the actual telescope itself. As I mentioned, this is the FOT 106, FO for Founder Optics, T for Triplet, 106 for the objective size, which is 106 millimeter, and this has a focal length of 636 millimeters with an f ratio of f6. And as I mentioned earlier, the construction of this is a triplet, and the glass elements are air-spaced, and it contains both FPL53, FPL51 with lanthanum. Hopefully I didn't butcher the name lanthanum, but you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. And also, and this is unique to the FOT 106. The FOT 106 comes with an image rotator. FOT 86 does not come with an image rotator. And this has a weight of about 6.7 kilograms or 14.8 pounds. And this is going to be suitable for anyone with a sort of mid-sized equatorial mount. And the cool thing about this series of telescope is that, I mean, it's no secret that everyone watching my videos knows that I prefer Petzval design telescope because I hate dealing with field flattener. Well, unfortunately, you still have to use a field flattener for this, but they did the next best thing. They shipped you with the proper field flattener that you can use for this telescope. I haven't tested this out on other telescope because it wasn't designed for any other telescopes. So, and I can confirm with you that this does a really good job at flattening out the field of view. So I thought this was really cool. I mean, this is probably the next best thing to having a Petzval design telescope, is that the company or the manufacturer ships you the proper field flattener for the telescope that you purchase. So I thought this was really cool. And you know, obviously this telescope comes with, you know, the tube ring. It does have a handlebar. You're not seeing it right now. I'll put a picture of it later on. It does come with a handlebar. However, that handlebar does not have an attachment for a guide scope, so I'm using my own. And you know, I can talk more about, you know, the user experience later on when we go outside, but you know, just looking at this telescope from a packaging point of view, and really like the inclusion of the field flattener just makes the whole package so complete, because you don't need anything else. Well, maybe a guide scope saddle or guide scope handle if you use a guide scope, but you know, this is pretty good. I wish that more companies would do this. Ship you a telescope, ships you a field flattener, and I don't really mind if the price factors into the field flattener already, because you know, you're gonna have to use a field flattener regardless. And the fact that you don't have to like sort of hunt and second guess and ask the community about, well, which field flattener works. They just ship you the appropriate field flattener. That's well done. That's really well done. So I don't have much else to say about the telescope other than just going outside and using it. Let's go outside. Okay, so I've gone over a little about, you know, the manufacturer behind this telescope, Founder Optics. I talked about the specs. Now I want to talk more about, you know, what my initial impressions of it, of the telescope is. And my initial impressions is that it's really good. I really like it. First of all, I do like myself a black telescope with some of this green accents. I think the color schemes is just right. I know that this is an instrument, but hey, sometimes when you have something to look at, it's nice to look at. And more importantly, you know, I mentioned earlier in the video that this could be, you know, the one and only telescope, depending on the kind of astrophotographer you are. And I say that because of two main criteria that I myself highly value. Number one, is it ready to go right out of the box? As in, do I need to get other stuff to make it work? And number two, the kind of images or the kind of objects that this thing excels at. And because of those two criteria, I personally think that the Founder Optics FOT106 could be the best winter object refractor I've ever used. And I say that because, number one, as I said earlier, is it ready to go right out of the box? The fact that they supply you with a proper field flattener, meaning that you don't have to go out there and sort of dig and choose and hopefully find the right field flattener for you to use, that is awesome. I mean, functionally, because they ship you the field flattener, remember I said functionally, this is probably as good as a quadruplet or a Petzl, because you know you're going to get flat field of view from, you know, the combination of this telescope and the supply field flattener. You don't have to, you know, go out there and find your own field flattener. So I think that's awesome. It's ready to go right out of the box. Number two, at 636 millimeters of focal length, this is actually the perfect focal length for essentially all of the winter objects. You know, it's not going to be a wide field scope like the Red Cat series, there's like the Red Cat 51 or the 71, but as far as just fitting nebulae, winter nebulae into your images, this is probably like the perfect focal length for that, 633. I've used it with an APS-C sensor, and tonight I'm going to be using it with a 1-inch sensor of the very famous ZW533. More on that camera later on, but you're going to be able to see that, you know, and I'll share with you some sample images that I was able to complete using this telescope so far, which, by the way, I haven't had a lot of time with. So this sort of introduction is going to be very brief because there are a lot of things about this telescope that I don't know yet because I just haven't spent enough time with it because of all the rain that we've gotten. So, but getting back to what I was trying to say is that this telescope really could be the one telescope that if you focus on the winter objects, this could be it, because it is basically ready to go right out of the box because of the supply field flattener. And number two, the focal length means that it doesn't matter if you're using an APS-C sensor size or the very, very popular 1-inch form factor sensor, you're going to be able to fit so many winter objects with this kind of reach. It's not so far in that you're super zoomed in, but it's also not a wide field refractor like the William Optics Red Cat 51 or the 71. So I think this is a perfect balance of, you know, just finding your objects that you want in the image during the winter night sky and fitting it into a frame. And just, yeah, I can't, as far as a winter object is concerned, at least the ones that are available to me, I can't think of one that I cannot image with this focal length at 633. So that's my sort of overall impressions of this refractor. Now, obviously, I haven't talked about the focuser, which I really should, because this is a really, really nice focuser to use. It is smooth, it is predictable, it is secure, as in when you lock it, you lock it. So, and I'll try to show a picture of it later on, but this is such a small thing that I don't think anyone's ever thought of, but oh my God, it makes using this telescope so much more enjoyable. the locking screw for the focuser is a big screw. And you know what? It feels really nice, because most of the time when you get a locking screw on a lot of these refractor, it's just one of those like tiny little thumb screw. But no, this one is ginormous and it feels awesome. So hopefully I was able to provide you with enough of a sort of initial impression of what I thought of this telescope, and I hope that you guys will enjoy some of the images I was able to capture with this. And I'll be back with a lot more content regarding this telescope, because I really do think, as far as winter nebulae are concerned, this could be your one and only telescope if that's all you care about is winter objects. That being said, I hope you guys will enjoy the images that I got from this, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Take care, guys. Clear skies. Bye.